Today, I'm really honored to moderate a very important session about the best practices in neighbor countries and in different countries that they are pioneers in the investment of heritage. And I would like also to welcome our guest today, Dr. Yossef Ben-Meir. Virtually, he's with us. Thank you very much for being with us today and the participation. Mr. Alec Hansen, the expert in tourism and technical advisor of FHI 360, and His Excellency Ambassador of Greece, Kalimera. Dr. Yossef, sorry to keep you waiting. Dr. Yossef Ben-Meir, you are the founder and the president of High Atlas Foundation, championing sustainable development in Morocco since 2000. And also you're a former Peace Corporate volunteer and visiting professor at the University of Virginia. Thank you very much for being with us today. And I guess we talked yesterday virtually about how your projects engage people living around the heritage and in the heritage to be a successful model in pushing the heritage towards having more investors, to make it more attractive. You talked about amazing stories about handicrafts from the people living in the heritage and around the heritage. Perhaps the example you're going to give us today is a bit not exactly related to the Greek and Turkish model, but it is worth studying it and look at it very carefully. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Thank you. Salam alaikum, Your Excellencies, to the organizers, friends. I'm grateful to be with you. I'm going to describe an initiative here in Morocco that had a positive pilot that is now gaining scale and that has been able to secure domestic and international public and private investment. For us at the High Atlas Foundation, we are dedicated to community development. We support the projects that local people identify as most important to them. So in naturally focusing in rural places, 70% of rural incomes come from agriculture. We focus heavily on agriculture. Clean drinking water remains a priority of the people. Irrigation systems, family literacy, and cultural preservation. We initiate programs based on the priorities expressed and build partnerships to achieve them. I want to say, if I may, that our expertise is in assisting communities in that identification, in that discovery of what they want most of all in their lives. We launch this process with a 4-day empowerment, personal, collective exploration process that results in a sense of priorities and action plan that reflect the will of what they want to achieve in their futures. But it's an intense emotional experience that brings us to that action plan. We need to look at social relationships in our lives. We feel doubt and fears. We need to look at the emotions, our outlook of money, of work. All of these things bear upon people's ability and determination in knowing what they want and pursuing what they seek most of all. And so our conditions in rural life have underscored the necessity of fruit trees. Now, what prevents farming families across the nation from building their nurseries for trees is the contribution of land. They can't forego the barley and corn in order to grow a seed into a sapling. They have to harvest every year. So we seek land. And in doing the kind of process I just described, there was land next to a Moroccan Jewish cemetery about 30 minutes outside of Marrakesh. I'm speaking to you from Marrakesh. And we asked the Moroccan Jewish community, can we use this land for the People's Tree Nursery? And that's what initiated what is now a heritage initiative gaining broader and broader scale, it wasn't necessarily us seeking heritage and intercultural partnership. It was pursuing the will of the people first. They wanted trees most of all. And how, in their determination of priorities, can we interject matters of, in this case, interfaith partnership, matters of cultural preservation, but it begins with human development and participatory planning among the beneficiaries. The Moroccan Jewish community said yes to the land. It happens to be adjacent nearby a 700-year-old cemetery in this case. And that nursery now generates 70,000 olive trees primarily a year. It's been about a 10-year project. About 7 years ago, we began, as the nursery began to take hold, we began engagement not just with communities in the region, but immediately surrounding that nursery. And the 4-day experience began with women's groups in the nearest villages. And they identified based on their tradition and the skills that they gained from their previous generations, the desire to make carpets and other clothing articles that is based on their cultural history, symbols of their cultural past, using wool from the sheep that they grow and dyes of the wool from the medicinal plants that grow endemically in the area. And so that was launched approximately between 6 and 7 years ago. Now, in that interim period, the engagement with communities continued. The nursery serves the broader region, but immediately surrounding that community dialogue of new priorities and acting to implement their dreams is ongoing. And of course, a pervasive issue that we have in rural Morocco is clean drinking water. We have municipalities where many girls don't go to middle school, they fetch water. We have terrible situations of waterborne diseases. We have higher infant mortality in rural places. And so that priority of clean drinking water with partners, we've been able, in this case, Yves Saint Laurent fashion, we were able to implement clean drinking water initiative in integrating an irrigation infrastructure as well. So now they're in a position to plant more trees. The other investment that we were able to secure was connecting the 700-year-old cemetery with a road about 1 kilometer to the women's co-op so that the visitors of the cemetery can come and visit the cooperative. Now, again, we're talking about layers. It began with a cultural, well, of course, community planning, but then the immediate partnership was interculturalism, and then building a cooperative driven by women, making carpets of design that of their materials, of design based on their heritage, leading to clean drinking water, irrigation, fruit tree planting. We're now in the process of supporting their planting of 23,000 olive trees. And what has now been an additional new overlay is the monitoring of the trees for carbon offset credits. I will say broadly, the Highlands Foundation helps to build, right now we're supporting 10 nurseries in Morocco, 3.2 million trees. We've just this season, we helped support transplanted 700,000. We've monitored about 500,000 so far this year. Our full-time staff is 98 people. So what I'm describing to you is a pilot within a broader program. Now, in addition to receiving land from the Moroccan Jewish community, we also receive land from the Moroccan government for tree nurseries, from the National Agency of Waters and Forests. And so seeing this pilot create these layers of human development with a cultural gateway, the number of visitors has grown beyond what we've imagined. Since the start of 2023, we've been visited by 32 universities, mostly from the US and EU, of course, Moroccan public universities. We've been visited by some dozens of tourist groups, because for one reason is, if people have half a day, and haven't had the experience necessarily of a genuine rural community visit and learning about rural life conditions, here we have this pilot 30 minutes out of Marrakesh, and they can see and internalize Moroccan culture, Moroccan agriculture, matters of public health related to water, school infrastructure, all the different dimensions of broad-based community development they can see in a single location, drawing more and more people. And the more people drawn, the more advocacy and more public awareness, the more we are drawing. The more come, the more will come. The Moroccan government, of course, for generations, prioritizing Moroccan multiculturalism, of course, saw this opportunity, and now every time we replicate, we are now building the fourth of such intercultural tree nurseries. The Moroccan government, through the National Initiative for Human Development, puts $50,000 into that nursery. So we have the Moroccan government funding a tree nursery on Moroccan Jewish land for trees for the public of that region.
Dr. Yossef, if you allow me, that we see that the role of local communities playing in heritage preservation, and also seeing the Moroccan model, the tourism model, is mostly, there is a lot of charter flights comes from Europe, which is like not a far flight, a very short flight from many European cities, comes to the beaches, and still we see that the Moroccan government put an effort to talk about the manzil, the home of traditional Moroccan home, and they are converted into boutique hotels. The investment of local owners together with the government. How do you see those, apart from Morocco as a destination being a beach holiday, which is seem like somehow Sinai and the Red Sea, but still we see a lot of stress on the heritage and investment on the heritage. Every day there is more and more boutique hotels are coming, more and more new areas are ready to receive visitors. How do you see this from your experience in the country?
It's an important question. The areas that I'm referring to are ones that haven't and are not typically visited. And so through this process, let me just say too that the Highlands Foundation implements the USAID Dakira program for cultural preservation. It brings us out there to places where visitors are not going. The USAID Farmer to Farmer program was very important in the pilot I'm talking about, in providing the skills and on all these things. And so my response to that question is, it allows us to expand, diversify the destinations of visitors, because of the fact we're going to places where normally those visitors don't typically come. You'll get pilgrims to the cemeteries, but you won't get, those visitors won't typically go into the villages and meet the members of cooperatives or initiate necessarily the launching of these cooperatives. It's just to the cemeteries, and at certain times of the year, at the anniversary of the passing of some of the in Moroccan Jewish, Muslim, Amazighi culture, there are salihin, saints, recognized saints in Moroccan life. And so usually the pilgrims to Morocco visit these areas at the anniversary of the passing of these saints. So it's a very rare visit. And so what we have to do is we have to expand the destinations, which is what we're trying to do as well.
It's an amazing model to see a diversification of several products that the Moroccan government are keen to present on the tourism map, so that we can have a varieties, not only to be called like a cheap destination that people try to fly charter to reach an all-inclusive kind of resort. Thank you very much for the insightful information.